everybody. Welcome to another edition of a book chat. My name is Petra, and today my happy place is with books. So, as you may remember, or even if you do not remember, I decided to read this book, Mary Higgins Clark, All by Myself Alone. I have finished it. I finished it just a little bit ago. And I have wanted these book chats for a long time. I love books. There are very few genres that I do not care for. Most of them I do. As you recall, my first book review, my first book chat was on the book Sense and Sensibility, and by Jane Austen, and I, of course, love all things Jane Austen. But I wanted to do a little departure, so I decided on Mary Higgins Clark, who is she is one of my longtime favorite mystery writers. I haven't read a lot of her recent, and when I mean recent, I mean in the last 10 years maybe. I haven't read a whole lot of her books. Most of them have been prior to that, but I think I have read a lot of them. So this one I had not read. I found it at my local Ollie's. We have an Ollie's here that is basically like a Big Lots. It just has lots of stuff, and one of their big sections is books. And what they do is they buy in bulk from other places the books that don't really sell very well, and then they put them on for a low price. So I got this one for $3.99. I don't know if you can tell, $3.99, and worth every penny. I mean, come on, it's a hardback book, and if you do have a collection that a lot of people like to collect books, what a perfect addition. Okay, so let me get right into this. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis, and but I'm not going to give away, obviously, the whodunit, because, I mean, that would be just, like, silly. So, All by Myself Alone is about a new liner, a cruise, I don't want to say a cruise ship, but that rivals the Titanic. In fact, it is supposedly even more fancy, luxurious than the Titanic is supposed to be, or was supposed to have been, or was, or whatever. And but their goal is to be 100% indulgent with their passengers. So they're only allowing 100 guests at a time. And there's there's so many crew and members that they are like almost 1-to-1, basically. The man that owns this, he prides himself on having these luxurious lines. So anyway, it starts off by introducing us, the reader, to approximately 10, I don't know exactly how many the number is, but approximately 10 different characters. So the whole story follows the timeline of this cruise ship, and it's supposed to be 7 days. So it starts off at the beginning, and it's sectioned off into days. So day 1, day 2, you get the idea. One of the things I love about Mary Higgins Clark's writing is that her chapters are so short and to the point. I mean, like, come on, Like, here's the chapter. There's one page. And then the back side. Okay. I love books like this because I love the pace. And that's why I really, really like Mary Higgins Clark. Because she's succinct to the point and she just goes. But she doesn't leave out detail. So like I said, it goes through the lives of these approximately 10 people, ranging from the captain, the owner, a couple. They're in each one of them has their own story, and you're introduced to them at the very beginning about why they're there on the ship. And then it ends by, the first chapter ends by saying, one of these people will die by the end of the book. Or by the end of the journey, excuse me. By the time it docks where they're going to, one of those people will die. So, of course, that's suspenseful. You need to find out. You want to read to the end to find out, number one, who dies, and number two, who done it, right? That's what a mystery is all about. And it all revolves around this necklace and this myth of that necklace. It's the Cleopatra necklace, and it's supposedly whoever takes that necklace onto water will die. So, does that happen? Who knows? But so the whole story revolves around this necklace, and it's interesting to see how the author gives you clues as to who the killer might be, who might be the one. You're like, oh, maybe it's him, maybe it's her, maybe it's him, and it's just a great read. Like I said, fast. I mean, I could, if I had the time, I could have sat down and read this in one day easily, but I had to break it up into several times. Anyway, here's what I want to say about this book. If you like mystery, you've got to get the book. I mean, Mary Higgins Clark, hands down, one of the best mystery writers this century, I would say. I'm just going to say. And if you haven't heard of her, shame on you. The other thing I like about her is that she doesn't do foul stuff. I mean, she doesn't put in curse words or sex or graphic stuff. She just doesn't. I mean, there's times where there's a cause for it and you might need it, but otherwise she doesn't add it just to add it, to add flavor to her novel. And I love that part about her. Now, the other thing that I have to say that I loved about this read is she has started years and years ago, she brought in a couple that won a lottery. And I know I'm talking gibberish to some of you, but there was a book, and I cannot recall the name of it, $1 million something, but it was about a couple who won the lottery. And it was this elderly couple. And when I say elderly, I probably mean like in their 50s or 60s. I don't know, I'm talking about my own age, but somebody in that age group. And there's a series that kind of like follows them on their journey, and the lady of this winner, the winner of this couple, her name is Elvira, and Elvira is a novice detective, and she tries to solve mysteries. So now you kind of see how this kind of fits together. Well, now Elvira is in this book, and she helps to solve the mysteries. And it's just a lovely, it's talking about a very lovely couple, that cares about each other, loves each other. That being said, this is one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this book. I have noticed in all of my readings of books for the past 45 years, when you're talking about fiction, when you're talking about any kind of genre, really, that the majority of cases, I'm not saying all, but the majority of times, the protagonist, the hero, heroine, whoever you want us to talk about in each book, is in their 20s or 30s, and if they're in their 40s, they have a lot to do with the 30s or something like that, because they want to the author wants to appeal to a certain age group. Mary Higgins Clark in this particular book does not hold to those standards. A lot of her characters are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and it's just a very refreshing, for me anyway, a refreshing read. So that is the book that I would highly recommend. Again, it's Mary Higgins Clark's All by Myself Alone. And you will really enjoy this book if you like mystery, if you like cruising. I mean, if you've never taken a cruise, with a large ship, I've never have, but I really got to understand what they're all about by reading it. And she's done a lot of research. If you want to learn about gems, gemology, if you want to learn about what it means to be an entrepreneur, I mean, this is a really great read. I highly, highly recommend. Out of 5 thumbs up, I'll give it 5 thumbs up because I love the book. Okay? So, my next read, which I will be reading here, and I don't know how long it will take, looks like a very short read, but knowing me, it will take me a little while to get through it. It's called Romeo's Way by James Scott Bell. He is another one of my very favorite authors. Now, James Scott Bell is more of a PG-13 psychological thriller type writer, and I love that. I love psychological thrillers. I know that sounds kind of odd, but that's my only breakaway. That's a vice I got, yes, because one of my other very favorite authors is Ted Dekker, and for those of you that have read Ted Dekker, you know that man is like out there sometimes, in his writings. Mr. Happy just doesn't get into Ted Dekker because he just doesn't get it, but I love it. But anyway, James Scott Bell is another great author that does this. He used to be a lawyer, and so he brings a lot of law into his books. So I read, and I don't even remember where I have the book. I think it's on my Kindle. It's called Romeo's Rules. And all I remember is that after I read that book, I had to get the rest of the series. And this is the next one in the series, Romeo's Way. So I'm going to read this book, and hopefully I will remember, as I'm reading, I'll remember the first book, so I don't have to go back and reread the first in the series to understand this one. But I am really looking forward to this. I am anxious to hear if you guys read along with me in that Mary Higgins Clark book. I would like to know if you did decide to pick that book up, if you decided to read it. Also, if you did, let me know what you thought about it. And have you heard of this author, James Scott Bell? Have you read any of his books? I love this man, and I'm going to be reading this one this time, and I've already got a different author and what I want to read by him for the next go around. Oh, I've got so many books, so many things to do, so little time, right? Okay, so anyway, I hope you will follow along with me on my journey on all my book chats. In the meantime, happy reading from Pedra's Happy Place. Bye-bye.